I'm Stubbs of Wild and Free Photography. I'm a family documentary photographer and I use Zenfolio. I chose this image because of the way it communicates authentic and unposed family connection. You can see that the shot is framed with the sweet faces of the children drinking from their mugs. The main subject is the mom of this crew, and right away you follow her gaze to see that she's the gracious audience of a very enthusiastic storyteller. He's happy to have her full attention and therefore way too busy talking to drink like the others. Dad and doggy are in the background, scrounging for something to eat. The scene is just so relatable and genuine. To preserve the details in the shot, such as the red of their frozen cheeks and the texture of their clothing, I reduced the highlights significantly. I turned the shadows, whites, and blacks up. Using this technique to lighten a photograph preserves the detail over just bringing up the exposure. They were in a fairly bright kitchen with windows on either side of them, but I wanted the photograph to feel cozy, so I reduced the exposure a bit. For the color adjustments, I used the white cabinets behind them to grab the white balance with my dropper and adjusted the warmth up a bit and brought in more green tint. I brought down the saturation on many of the colors and turned the luminance either up or down. I was going for a more muted and nostalgic feeling in the photo. So how did I prepare? I'm a family documentary photographer, so I prepare families I work with beforehand with good communication of what to expect during our shoot. But really, there's always a bit of awkwardness in those first 5 minutes. Then they see I'm very relaxed and silly, just like them. We joke, I ask the kids about their favorite things. More than likely, as a mom of 3 children, I'm also very familiar with their interests and relate well. Moms and dads see that their kids are relaxed, and so they relax. Then I tell them to go about their day, and I will blend into their family dynamic. They soon forget to look for the camera, and I get to click away at all these beautiful moments. For this particular shot, I positioned myself at the end of the counter with my back touching the kitchen wall. This shot required that I lay half across the counter so I could get my camera to sit in the middle of the group. I did not want to make the effect too distorted with my wide angle lens due to there being faces at the edge of the frame, so I set my lens to 23 millimeters. Since my situation was obviously awkward, I had to wait a few minutes for the kids to turn their attention away from me and back to their conversation with their mom. The final image was totally worth the discomfort. This image is the perfect representation of what I get to do for my clients. I get to freeze a moment of connection in their daily life that will be like a time capsule of the season. This family was homeschooling all 4 kids for only that year. Their house was filled with energy and voices of 4 small people whose world revolved around their family unit. After a morning of school, mom had sent the kids outside to sled and burn off some energy. So they were coming back in, freezing and full of giggles from playing, and now it was time to drink cocoa with their mom and dad. For all the overwhelming energy levels, these parents knew that afternoons like this were going to be fewer and farther between. I got to capture this moment for them, knowing they would treasure all the emotions and memories it would hold for their family as they grew. I've since spoken to the mom, and now, a few years later, she says images like these are such a treasure to look back on. Giving value to families makes me so proud and passionate about what I get to do. The tips I have for shooting documentary style: number 1, get to know your exposure settings like the back of your hand. You will often move from indoors to outdoors to sunshine to cloudy in a matter of seconds. You constantly have to be thinking about your lighting and be quick to adjust. So, exposure settings. Tip number 2, you can feel the pressure of technically trying to compose the perfect shot, but that's the wrong focus. You should instead think about the story you're trying to tell. For example, maybe you're trying to tell the story of a little girl who's gaining confidence as she works up the skill of tying her shoes. Bring the camera down to her level and grab the details of her task or her expression. Or is the story about a little boy who's constantly lost in his imagination? Maybe you should take a step back and take in more of the background to show that he's living solitary in a world apart. Tip number 3, and I feel like this is the absolute most important, which is do not go it alone. If you can't get to know other family documentary photographers in person, find an online community. I highly recommend Michelle McKay's wearememorycatchers.com. There you can find other photographers who are also passionate about preserving all these beautiful ordinary moments through the art of photography. I'm Stubbs of Wild and Free Photography. Thanks for watching and learning more about family documentary photography.